December 6, 1991. Austin, Texas. The city glowed with holiday lights, neighborhoods buzzed with anticipation of Christmas, and families prepared for festive gatherings. Teenagers laughed with friends, malls filled with shoppers, and parents felt safe letting their children stay out late. But what began as an ordinary winter evening turned into one of the darkest nights in Austin's history. In a small yogurt shop tucked inside a bustling strip mall, 4 young girls, Jennifer Harbison, Eliza Thomas, Sarah Harbison, and Amy Ayers, would fall victim to a crime so brutal that it continues to haunt investigators, families, and an entire community even after 3 decades. This isn't just a story of murder. It's a story of innocence lost, of justice miscarried, and of questions that still echo unanswered. Austin in 1991, a city before the darkness. Before tragedy struck, Austin wasn't the booming tech hub that people know today. In 1991, it was a mid-sized city with a small-town feel. Neighbors knew each other, communities felt close-knit, and violent crime on this scale was almost unthinkable. Parents trusted their kids to go to football games, concerts, or simply hang out at the mall without fear. The yogurt shop, I can't believe it's yogurt, on West Anderson Lane, was one of those safe, wholesome hangouts. Families stopped by after dinner, kids met up with friends for dessert, and employees, mostly local high schoolers, earned some extra cash after class. It was the kind of place that represented comfort and normalcy. But Austin was about to learn that safety is sometimes only an illusion. The victims, 4 lives full of dreams. At the heart of this tragedy were 4 girls, each with her own story, her own dreams, and a future that should have stretched far ahead. Jennifer Harbison, 17, a hard-working high school student who dreamed of becoming a veterinarian. She was responsible, ambitious, and deeply loved by her family.
She could go to SP and go dancing. It was like she was in heaven.
Jennifer often worked evening shifts at the yogurt shop to save money for her future. Eliza Thomas, 17, Jennifer's close friend and co-worker. Eliza was smart, caring, and full of warmth. She shared with Jennifer the hope of building bright futures beyond high school. Sarah Harbison, 15, Jennifer's younger sister. Sarah admired her big sister and enjoyed tagging along whenever she could. She was outgoing, full of energy, and had her whole life ahead of her. Amy Ayers, 13, the youngest of the group and Sarah's best friend. Though younger, she loved being included in the older girls' plans. Amy was bubbly, joyful, and thrilled to join them that evening. They were ordinary girls, teenagers enjoying life, looking forward to the future. None could have imagined that night would be their last. The night of December 6, 1991. It was a Friday evening, like countless others. Jennifer and Eliza were scheduled to close the shop, and Sarah and Amy decided to hang out with them. The plan was simple: finish work, share some laughs, and maybe head home together. The shop closed at 11 p.m. Customers who stopped by earlier remembered the girls laughing, serving yogurt, and chatting happily. Nothing seemed unusual. But somewhere between closing the cash register and preparing to leave, something went terribly wrong. The discovery, fire, and horror. Just after midnight, a police officer on routine patrol spotted smoke rising from the yogurt shop.
Yeah, I'm headed over there.
The call occurred at 11:27 p.m.
Homicide 4.
Firefighters rushed to the scene expecting a small accidental fire. But once inside, they made a horrifying discovery. The fire was deliberate, set to cover something far worse. In the back of the shop, the charred remains of 4 young girls were found.
On December 6, 1991, there was a robbery, fire, and murder committed. It's all right, I'll make the call.
Their hands had been bound. Some had been gagged. Evidence suggested that they had been shot. At least some of them showed signs of sexual assault. The scene was gruesome beyond belief.
The victims were Jennifer and Sarah Harbison, Eliza Thomas, and Amy Ayers.
Investigators quickly realized they weren't looking at a tragic accident. They were looking at a cold-blooded massacre. The immediate aftermath, a city in shock. By morning, the news spread like wildfire. Local broadcasts described it as one of the most horrific crimes in Texas history. Parents hugged their children tighter. Teenagers who once freely roamed Austin now faced curfews and fear. The community was devastated. Vigils were held across the city. Flowers and notes piled up outside the yogurt shop. People demanded answers, and the Austin Police Department faced one of the toughest investigations in its history. The investigation begins. Detectives immediately launched an intensive manhunt. But from the start, the case faced obstacles. The fire had destroyed most of the physical evidence. What little remained, bullet casings, charred bindings, fragments, was severely damaged. Hundreds of leads poured in. Witnesses claimed to have seen suspicious men lingering near the shop. Some said they noticed unusual activity in the strip mall parking lot. But none of these tips led to solid suspects. The city was watching. Pressure mounted. Investigators knew they had to deliver answers. But each day that passed without a breakthrough felt like justice slipping further away. The suspects and false confessions. By the mid-1990s, frustration grew. The police turned their focus toward 4 young men: Michael Scott, Robert Springsteen, Morris Pierce, and Forrest Wellborn. Morris Pierce had been arrested in 1991 for carrying a .22 caliber handgun at a local mall. Investigators thought it could be linked to the yogurt shop murders, though no direct evidence tied him to the scene. Michael Scott and Robert Springsteen eventually gave detailed confessions after hours of interrogation. They described their supposed involvement in the crime with chilling specificity. But there was a problem. Their stories contradicted each other and appeared influenced by investigators' questions. Forrest Wellborn was implicated, but charges against him were quickly dropped due to lack of evidence. Still, prosecutors believed they had found their killers. The trials: justice or miscarriage of justice. In 1999, Robert Springsteen was convicted of capital murder and sentenced to death. The following year, Michael Scott was convicted and given a life sentence. Courtrooms were packed with reporters. Families of the victims watched in anguish as gruesome details were laid out. Many believed closure had finally come. But defense attorneys fought back, arguing the confessions had been coerced. There was no physical evidence, no fingerprints, no DNA, tying the men to the crime scene. For years, these convictions stood as the official story. But science was about to unravel it. The role of DNA evidence. Truth in science. By the early 2000s, forensic technology had advanced. Evidence from the yogurt shop was re-examined. What scientists discovered stunned everyone. The DNA did not match any of the convicted men. In fact, it didn't match any known suspect in law enforcement databases. The state's case collapsed. In 2009, both Springsteen and Scott were released. Morris Pierce, once labeled the ringleader, was never convicted and later died in an unrelated incident. The supposed closure was gone. For the families, it was like reliving the nightmare all over again. Lingering questions. Who really did it? If not them, then who? Some believe it was transient criminals, passing drifters who targeted the store by chance. Others suspect someone familiar with the yogurt shop's routines. Some even argue the true killers might have watched silently as the investigation veered in the wrong direction. To this day, the DNA remains unmatched. Leads surface now and then, but nothing definitive has ever come to light. The lasting impact on Austin. The yogurt shop. Murders left scars that never healed. For the families of Jennifer, Eliza, Sarah, and Amy, every anniversary is a painful reminder of lives stolen too soon. For Austin, the crime marked the end of innocence. Parents became more protective, and a sense of vulnerability seeped into everyday life. Even today, longtime residents remember exactly where they were when they heard the news. Why the case still matters. More than 30 years later, the yogurt shop murders remain one of America's most chilling, unsolved crimes. But why does it still matter? Because justice was never served. Because 4 young girls lost their futures. And because the killers may still be walking free. The case highlights the dangers of rushed investigations, the fragility of forensic science at the time, and the devastating consequences of false confessions. It also represents resilience, the families who continue to fight, the investigators who refuse to close the file, and the community that still remembers. A chilling mystery that demands justice. The yogurt shop murders are not just a story. They are a wound in Austin's history. 4 girls with dreams, laughter, and futures ahead of them were taken in an act of unimaginable cruelty. Their killers remain unidentified. Will advancing DNA technology finally uncover the truth? Or will this case remain one of America's most haunting mysteries? What do you think happened inside that yogurt shop on December 6, 1991? Were the confessions truly false? Or is there still more to the story? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story haunting, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon for more deep dives into true crime mysteries.